All right, this first little bit that we're going to talk about is just kind of some theory behind the database stuff. So let's kind of get into that. We're going to look at some PowerPoint stuff real quick, just kind of go over some theory stuff, okay? All right, so as I said, this is just some general database stuff to help you wrap your head around it. So the gist of this is that we're going to do a case study. All right, it guides you through this little mini lecture that I'm going to do here. So we've got Jeff McNally. He owns a hardware store. He keeps the inventory in his head. Everything's worked fine with that until lately, where sales have been going up. He's been doing really, really well in his hardware store. And his business partner wants to start selling online. So, keeping things in your head, the inventory, the stock, and all that kind of stuff in your head when you want to start selling online is not going to work. Jeff likes the idea of increasing his sales, but he's concerned about forgetting orders. Yeah, I mean, if you're keeping it all in your head and you're selling online, that's not a good combination. So, what can we do to help Jeff? Well, Jeff's first idea was to create a simple Excel spreadsheet, and he would keep all of his information in there. But as you quickly point out or quickly see, there is an issue with keeping everything in Excel. Is that you have to repeat the customer's name over and over again, so that can lead to some error right there. And then you also have to repeat the order name over and over again, and that can create some error and introduce some data integrity problems. Okay, so what are some other ideas that we can help him with? Well, this is LS560. We're technology students, or students taking a technology course, we'll say that, whichever the case may be for you. And so we want to be able to see if we can help him out. Well, we want to look at the main ingredients of his data. So what kind of buckets of information does he have? He's got customers, he's got parts, he's got orders, and he's got a packing list for each order. Okay, if you take those buckets of information, you split them up into tables, here's kind of what the tables would look like. You've got customer ID and customer name. The next table would be orders, okay, and it would include an ID for each order, it would include a name for that order, and then it would pull in a customer number from the customer table that we just talked about, okay? So those two tables, the customer table and the order table, those are related and they're normalized, okay? The third table, the packing list, would include a packing list ID, which would be a unique identifier. Then it would include an order number ID from the order table, which is second from the left, okay? Then it would include a part number from the table on the right, which we've not gone over yet. And then the last thing would be the quantity needed. Okay, that would be, just however many was needed. Let's look at that last table. The last table is the parts lookup table. It would include a part ID and a part name. Okay, so that would be the main ingredients for it. So yeah, I mean, when we split things up into little buckets of information to help us make our table more simple, it may look like it's more confusing. Well, yeah, I mean, it is a little bit more confusing because we've taken what would seem to be information that goes together and we've split it apart. Well, why did we do that? The reason we did that is for uniqueness, or remember I said normalized? Normalized means that there are unique identities for separate types of information. For example, that customer table, all it has in it is a list of all of our customers. The order table, all it has is a list of the orders. The parts lookup table, all it has is the name for each part and then an ID that goes with that. Now the packing list table, that's where everything is kind of pulled together. We'll look more at that in a second here. Okay, so when you look at the data for each of these tables, so there again, the customer table just has an ID and then the customer's name. We're actually going to try to split it out into first name, last name when we do our lab in a second here. But just for simplicity of this PowerPoint, yeah, customer name is associated with an ID. Then in the part table, in the lower left quadrant, you've got basically the part ID and the part name. Then up in the top right quadrant, you've got the order table. Now in that you've got your order ID, you've got your order name, and then you've got the customer number, which is being pulled from the customer table, which is in the upper left hand corner there. Okay, then you've got a table with a bunch of numbers in it. That's your packing list table. Okay, what it has is the packing list ID, which is auto incremented, which we've done before. Then the second column is your order number from your order table, okay, which is top right corner. All right. Then the next ID that we've pulled in is the part number from the part table, which is lower left quadrant. Then of course the last column, which we were talking about, is just the amount needed. No relationship needed there. Well, how do these all relate? Let's go over it one more time with some relationship mappings. So these four tables relate in the following way. The customer lookup ID is inserted into the order table, okay. Then the order ID is inserted down into the packing list table in the column order number ID from lookup, okay. And then the part number is inserted from the part lookup table. And then of course that last column in the packing list table is the quantity needed. Okay? So it's still kind of a big mess. We've got four tables, one table, all it has is numbers in it. So how does this help us? Well, we create a select statement and we actually join all those tables together. All right? And when we join them together, what we get is that Excel spreadsheet, except for the big difference now is that customer name is normalized. It's unique. It pulls from a lookup table, so we could change the customer's name in that lookup table once, and then it would propagate to all views that we have that are like this. Same goes for order name. Order name is pulling from a lookup table, and it's actually joined to this select or this query, so that we get that unique order name each time. Okay? And then the same goes for part as well. Part is actually pulled from a lookup table as well. All right? So by doing that, it helps us normalize all of our information, and then we relate everything together, and we're able to do a query and get exactly what we need, and we get a little report here. Alright, so that's a little quick overview of the theory part of why we're doing what we're doing here.